George Milton. George is described as physically small with very sharp features, an opposite to Lenny Small. George's personality often reflects both anger and understanding. Of the two men, he is the one who thinks things through and considers how their goals can be reached. Once Candy makes the stake possible, George comes up with the details. For example, where they will get the ranch, how long they must work to pay for it, and how they will have to keep a low profile in order to work for the next month. George also foresees possible complications and gives Lenny advice about what he must do in order to help their future. While George can be very rational and thoughtful, he also gets frustrated and angry with Lenny because the big man cannot control his strength or actions. George repeatedly gets angry, so much so that Lenny knows by heart what it means when George gives him hell. But George's anger quickly fades when he remembers Lenny's innocence and his inability to remember or think clearly. George, unlike other men, has a companion and friend in Lenny. Because of this, Lenny makes George feel special. They are different from all the other guys, and George realizes only too well that they have a special bond. At the ranch, George often plays solitaire, a game for one. Without Lenny, George would be a loner. Even though George gets frustrated by Lenny's mental weakness, he also feels compassion for his friend. Lenny offers George the opportunity to lay plans, give advice, and in general be in charge. Without Lenny, George would be just like the other hands, but with Lenny, George has a strong sense of responsibility. In the end, he even takes responsibility for Lenny's death. George also understands that Lenny does not have an adult sense of guilt, and does not understand death or murder beyond it being a bad thing. George makes it possible for Lenny, sometimes, to understand at least partial consequences of his actions. Unfortunately, George does not realize how dangerous Lenny can be, and this lack of foresight adds to the downfall of their dream. Their dreams also set George apart from the others, because it means he and Lenny have a future and something to anticipate. Unlike Lenny, George does not see their dream in terms of rabbits. Instead, he sees it in a practical way. Their farm will be one where they can be independent and safe, and where he will not have to worry about keeping track of Lenny's mistakes. They can be secure and in charge of their own lives. However, Lenny is the one who adds the enthusiasm, because George never really believed they could swing this farm of their own. He mostly uses this story to give Lenny something to believe in for their future. Only when Candy offers the stake does George actually begin to see that this dream could come true. But, realist that he is, George tells Candy over the lifeless body of Curly's wife, "I think I knowed from the very first. I think I knowed we'd never do her. He used to like to hear about it so much, I got to thinking maybe we would be able to have the farm." In the end, George Milton is a man alone once again.